No, I always sit here.
You sit here? I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Welcome back. Okay, Michal Fernandez. Hello. And Maya Hernandez.
Here on Zoom.
You're online. You good? Move this so it doesn't fall down. Okay, Bracha Simcha. You're here. Devora.
Which one?
Not you. A couple of yeah. Not here. Chava. No, absent. And Rotem sits here. Is she here?
Yes.
She's here. And Devora and Amdar. So your Mazel Tov, your cousin's engaged, right?
Yes.
Shana Patush. Not here. Rivka Shira and Rachel, you girls are here with you? Okay. And Sharon, no? And Sofa Gola. Not here. Sharon, no. Okay, absent. And Sofa Gola's here. And your name? Sorry? Sarah, do I have you? Oh, I have you. Yeah, you're here. Okay, good. Let's begin. We're going to study about the halachas of Tevilas Kalim, tailoring vessels. You know what? It reminds me of a story. We're up to Halacha Gimel, page Tzadik Aleph, 91. There's a story I heard from a Rav many years ago. Passed away already, a hush of a person. He told me a story happened, I think, with the smell. One of the Rishonim maybe, or one of the early Torah luminaries from several hundred years ago. Erev Pesach, he went to Toivel his Kalim in the ocean for Tevilas Kalim. And a wave came and swept away his vessels. He was with his students and he was very, very joyous after that happened. The following year came, the next year, and again, and his students were baffled. Why is their teacher so joyous when he lost all his vessels Erev Pesach? The next year, the teacher is again with his students by the ocean, and he has a new set of dishes to toivel for Pesach. And while he's toiveling the new set of dishes, the old set washed itself back up on the shore, and he was able to retrieve them, and he was sad. So the student said to him, the expression is Toida hi v'limin ani tzarech. Rebbe, there's some lesson here. What am I missing? What can I learn from this? So the Rebbe said very simple. He says, last year, when my vessels were swept away Erev Pesach, I realized that my mazel could not get any worse. I was at the bottom of the barrel. So that's why I was joyous, because I knew that good times are ahead of me. He says, the following year, when I'm by the ocean side, toiveling my new vessels, and the old vessels sweep up exactly the time that I come, I said, my mazel cannot get any greater than this. I said, it's going to start to wax and wane now. I felt sad. There's a word from the Frierdiker Rebbe. Maybe it'll give a little encouragement to the crazy things going on in the world. The Frierdiker Rebbe says, when you're at the bottom of the wheel, whichever way you turn, right or left, is up. At a certain point, whenever there's movement, it's already becomes an aliyah to the matzah that we're in. Anyway, okay, Halacha Gimel. There's three things that I mentioned in this parsha with regards to Klei Midyon and the loot, etc. Anything that comes in contact with fire should be kosherized with fire. That's referring to kashering the vessel from a forbidden absorption. This that it says in the pasuk, and it should become purified. The rabbis derive besides for the fact that it has to be purged with the fire, the vessel has to undergo another form of purification. That's immersion in water, to usher it into the holiness of the Jewish nation. This is what it says later in the neither waters. It should become ischata. It's talking about tumas mes, something that gets in contact with a dead body. So it has to be sprinkled with the ashes of the paraduma, which is called, that the water that's mixed into that is called the main nida. The rabbis learn out that also from this we have an implication and a hint to the mitzvah of tefillas kelim. It's a reference to the din of a mikvah. Which Rabbi saw, this is the measurement, the body of 40 saw mayim of water. That you need to be able to table a vessel. So a vessel has to go into a mikvah, which has to have a minimum of 40 saw as a body of water. If it's a live stream, it could be even less, like a mayon. A mayon is matar b'chol shul. Now, even though the mitzvah of Tevilas Kelim is written in conjunction and in the same sukkim as the mitzvah of koshering vessels, right? Because they got the vessels from the Midianites. They have to kosherize the vessels, toivel the vessels, so it's kind of a story that was coming together. Still, they're two separate mitzvahs. So if you buy a brand new vessel, which does not require kosherization, you still have to toivel it. It's not like you only have to toivel vessels that were not kosher. The table vessels that were owned by non-Jews that became owned by a Jew. Halacha dal. After mitzvah of tefillas kelim is nichtava parshas achsharas kelim. Even though the mitzvah of tefillas kelim was written by the parsha of kosher vessels, in kozeh mitzvah tefillas kelim ena teluya binyan achsharas kelim. It's not dependent on the union of koshering vessels. Ki afilu kelim chadoshim, even brand new vessels. Hakanuyim enochre that are purchased from a non-Jew, shelo yishtamish b'hem elam, they never used them at all. They still need tefillah min haTorah. And I want to share something with you now that relates to this subject. We'll learn at the end of these halachas, towards the end, what about electronic devices, such as an electric urn?
Rabbi, I took a toaster to the mikvah last night.
Oh no.
I made a video about it.
Oh boy. The toaster itself, or just the shelf?
No, the toaster itself. Mrs. Owens like, take the toaster. I'm like, can we not just sell this to a non-Jew? She's like, nah, take the toaster.
Wait.
I'm like, okay.
Is this one of those toasters that?
No, this is a full-on toaster, like two
No.
slots. You dip the toast in.
Oh, it's a slot. It's an upright. Okay.
Not a toaster oven.
Not an oven. Just
Oh,
a bread. Okay. There's an interesting truth from Rabbi Moshe Feinstein about that. I'll talk about that in a moment. But I want to first explain that. I mean, it's a very humorous subject because, just like it says, I mean, I'm drawing a comparison. It's maybe a stretch, but when you buy a soda from a vending machine, it says, "Warning: rocking this machine can cause injury or death." You know what I mean? Because they don't want people to steal. Whatever. But it says the same kind of a warning on these electronic devices. Do not immerse in water. Doing so can cause injury or death. Jewish people defy reality. They define reality. Exactly. So when it comes to these urns, don't immerse in water. Jewish people do it anyways. And actually, if all these filmmakers, if they wanted to make a lot of money, they should make a film of the Jewish people doing their things. Toiveling the urns in the water in the mikvah, stabbing knives into the ground 10 times. You know what I mean? This is stuff like this would create a very interesting kind of a.
The things we do for the show.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, so let's focus on that. So what happened? So it's gonna get ruined. So then they say dry it out for 3 days. Turn it upside down. Don't touch it for 3 days in the sun.
Nice.
Usually it survives the trip. Some things will not survive the trip. Like things that have electronic, let's say motherboard, forget it. You toivel them, say Kaddish afterwards. It's over. Finished. Done. So it's not going to work. So now, therefore, this has given rise to a whole new movement in the industry to manufacture products that are manufactured from the onset by a Jewish person. Therefore, the whole need for tevilah is avoided. So, if I, for example, manufacture Shabbos urns and they're manufactured by the Jew, sold by the Jew, bought by the Jew, there's no need for tevilah. Then I don't have to go through this whole process of immersing in the mikveh for 3 days, praying, saying the whole tillim to make sure that it's going to survive, and then plugging it in, hoping you don't get, nothing funny happens. You don't have to go through that. No tevilah necessary, no tevilah required. But even this itself is a subject of, debate or there's some different opinions. The majority of the way in which I would say, people follow in terms of custom is that as long as the vessel was manufactured by a Jew, sold by a Jew, and bought by a Jew, there's no tevilah required. However, if you have a vessel that was manufactured by a Jew, but distributed by a non-Jewish company, let's say you bought it from Target, I bought it from Walmart, I bought it from another manufacturer that was not Jewish owned predominantly, and then I bought it, then even though it was manufactured by the Jew, but since it was owned by a non-Jew in the interim, even though the non-Jew only owned it for the sake of doing business, not to use it, right? Many opinions hold it still requires tevilah. Some opinions say, well, it only requires tevilah if the non-Jew bought it for the sake of using it, but not for the sake of just trying to do business. Happens to be. Don't ask me why, but that our posek, the OK, holds that if a vessel is manufactured by the Jew, and even though it's being distributed by a non-Jew, just for the sake of making money, not to use, if it's bought by a Jew, it does not require tevilah because the fact that the non-Jew owned it just for the sake of business does not generate a need for tevilah. It's not like he didn't really own it per se. He just wanted to make some money on it. It's a certain approach, but most opinions maintain that it still requires tevilah. So we actually certify a pizza maker called the Betty Crocker pizza maker that says no tevilah required on this basis. So if you buy the pizza maker from the Jewish distributor, it goes according to all opinions. It's not. The Lubavitch Rabbanim that I consulted with said that we should still toivel it. So go through the process without a bracha. Toivel it 3 days, turn it upside down, let it dry out, and say all the prayers that you can say under the sun. While the vessel's under the sun, so it'll dry out together. Okay.
I feel like I had a peak Jewish moment last night.
It's a Jewish moment, no question. Now, regarding the toaster oven that Malka Levana brought out, let me just share this with you.
I brought the toaster, not a toaster.
Okay, the toaster itself. The toaster itself reminds me of a mischievous story that I did once. I'll tell you in a second. But the toaster oven itself, I know you're talking about a toaster. A toaster oven itself, it does not have to be table for sure because the food does not touch the walls. You just have to table the tray. You just remove the tray. It's very simple. It's a metal tray. But the casing of a toaster itself, where the bread goes in vertically, right, and just kind of straight down. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein is very interesting tshuva on that. He says that kind of toaster, the only thing it can do is just toast bread. It's just taking bread that's ready to eat and it's making it more crispy. He says that's not called klei seuda. Klei seuda means a vessel that's used to prepare food. This food is already prepared. This is just it's like a charring vessel. It's a vessel that just like makes grill marks, so to speak. And he says such a vessel does not need to be toivel, and therefore it avoids the whole situation. Too bad we didn't try this the day after the class, but anyway, the toaster got ruined.
Look, you can explain this to Mrs. Ruddle because she's the one that told me to take it.
All right, I'm sorry. No. But anyway, there's a heter for that in that case. Now I'll tell you the story about something mischievous that I did as a bacher. I kind of whatever. It's part of growing up. When I was in yeshiva in Morristown, the mikvah was not hot enough for the liking of the bacher. We go to mikvah every morning. We wanted a nice hot mikvah, it's geschmack, especially the winter time. We warm up. So I think me and a friend, we broke into there's like a control room where they have all the temperatures. It's locked. It isn't hard to break it. You just take a hanger, stick it through the lock and pull it out. No damage done. Just to found a way to get access, so to speak. We lifted the dial of the control for the mikveh. We went all the way. Okay. The next morning, Friday morning, the mikveh is steaming like a cholent pot, boiling. And people are like, it took 2 hours to cool it down. That the hose cold water in there. Anyway, I was kind of embarrassed. What can I do? It's just part of growing up. Anyway, you know the story. I'll tell you one other story that I did I grew up in Boston. So Boston is a hockey town. Exactly. So I played hockey. We used to play street hockey. I'm not really good on the skates or the ice, but street hockey I learned to be very good at. I grew up in a very small yeshiva. We had 30 boys in the whole school. So when I was in 7th grade, we played hockey. I played hockey with 12th graders. So they taught me how to play, and I had to play against much bigger kids. I learned the game. And I absolutely love the sport. It's so exhilarating. And the wintertime, we wanted to play, but we had to find some kind of rink indoors. So we wanted to use the auditorium in the yeshiva. But of course, we weren't allowed to. So one Motzei Shabbos, we just took all the tables, cleared it out, created a whole rink. We played, had a great game for like 3 hours. Of course, we scuffed up the floor because of our, the marks of our sneakers jerking on the floor and the shoes. So the next morning, things looked like, streak marks all over. The principal was not amused and let us know that's not going to happen again. So we did it once and that was it. Able to do it, but it's part of growing up. You know the story with the Frierdiker Rebbe? You know the story with the goat? There was a bacher in the yeshiva who was a little bit, I guess today they'd probably call him ADD. He was a little wild, he just had a hard time controlling his behavior. So on Purim, he went to behind the yeshiva. There was another Lubavitcher fellow who had like a farm, had some goats, and he gave the goats some mashka, and the goats were starting to jump around, drunk. He didn't kill them, but this poor guy was fuming because it's like his parnasa, he milks the goats, and the goats are jumping around. And then yesterday, this person spoke to the Frierdiker Rebbe and wanted this bacher expelled from the yeshiva. So he was in serious trouble. So he came to the Frierdiker Rebbe and he said, so he had to go into, Frierdiker Rebbe at that time was the manal of the yeshiva. It was during the times of the Rebbe Nashab. Frierdiker Rebbe was the principal. And she said to Frierdiker Rebbe, he says, Rebbe, what's going to happen? They throw me out of the yeshiva. I'm going to wander in the streets. What's going to become of me? Better stay in the yeshiva, be in a holy environment. I'll grow up to be a yid, and the Rebbe let him stay. Like he was, he didn't deny what he did. He's like, I'm better off over here. Anyway, I told you there was another bacher I grew up with. I don't know why I'm saying all these stories, but you have to see that this is part of being human. It's good. There was a bacher in the yeshiva when I grew up. He's a famous rabbi. So we used to, when we were in yeshiva in the 1980s, we used to hear sichas of the Rebbe all the time. The Rebbe would say sichas like every other night, and they'd play it on the intercom. So we would, we'd go down to the zal, put on our hats and jackets, listen to Sikh of the Rebbe. This bacher was able to mimic the Rebbe's voice exactly. I mean, he knew every nuance of how the Rebbe pronounced everything, the Yiddish, everything. And he used to roam the hallways in the dormitory and pretend like there was a sikha starting, so the bacher would jump out of bed, come down to zal, and he would create a whole script. It was a certain flavor of Chassidish, shtick that was on a different level. This guy had, he mamish, a very, very talented person. He was very talented. You know the story with the Negelwasser? Oh, this one is another Hall of Fame story. In Morristown, the yeshiva has it's like 5 stories high, the dormitory, 4 or 5 stories. I watched this happen. It's a story you couldn't believe unless you saw it with your own eyes. So Rabbi Hurston, who's the dean of the whole yeshiva, he's in charge of running the whole campus. He raises all the money. I mean, it's a massive operation. I don't even know how many millions of dollars. So he's constantly he would bring over donors and show them the college, the medical college, the school, take them on tours. Some bacher after in the morning they get up for negelmas, they wash. So they were supposed to take the negelmas and dump it into the toilet. I mean, it's where it belongs. But some bacher found it too difficult to actually make the trip from their dormitory room all the way down the hall to the restroom. They would take the negelwas and dump it out the window. So, so thank God they were like bushes. You're not supposed to really, this is tummy water, but I'm watching them pour stuff out the window. It's like maybe 30 feet from Rabbi Hurston and this whole entourage of wealthy donors. And he's like, he looks up and he's like, oh no, I hope they don't see this. Anyway, it passed. That's the situation passed. Anyway, this is what happens in running yeshiva. It's part of the culture. I'll tell you one more story. You know what? I'm in the mood of telling stories. When I was in Boston, the yeshiva, my principal was Rabbi Cement. Blessed memory. He was my teacher also. Very, very smart man, a very learned person. He ran the yeshiva with a tight fist. He made sure that everyone was in line. They used to call him the CIA. Cement Intelligence Agency. He would check into everything. So we're not allowed to leave for Shabbos to New York. We were shlichus there. We're allowed to go once a month. We had a Shabbos off. I'm not going to mention his name, but one of the boys in the yeshiva, he found an excuse to go to New York every week. He was related to a very large Lubavitch family, so there's either a bris, a shalom zachar, a baby, a wedding, a chassan, something's always happening, a bar mitzvah. There's always an occasion. He was in New York every week. So nobody wants to squeal on their friend. So I just remember would come once a Shabbos to the yeshiva, and he would check up, see which bachur taka left, So he came into the dormitory, and one of my classmates, who was very funny person. Like, I didn't want to even face this. I knew Rabbi Smith was going to ask me where this guy was. I couldn't just pretend I didn't know. I just wanted to avoid it. So I scrambled. I went away. But I was in earshot. This guy comes down the stairs, meets Rabbi Simon. Rabbi Simon says to him, "Have you seen this bacher?" So the guy says to Rabbi Simon, "Who is this bacher? Who is he?" I just kept going. He just kind of, just got out of it. But there was always interesting experiences. Anyway, okay, enough to run B'Talem. But it's good a little laughing. It's healthy. Yeah. Okay. Halacha hey. Hagam sheyesh min haposkim asevim shikar mitzvah tefillah kela ina min hadarbanan. Some poskim say that the ikar mitzvah of tefillah is only the rabban rabbinically, but drasha shadosh is aleha ein element smachta. The drasha that we learn out from the psukim, it's just an asmachta. We find a support from the psukim. The psukim itself don't say it 100% explicitly. Most poskim maintain that tefillas kelim is min haTorah. Now, the question is, are you allowed to use a vessel before it's titled? This is what you call mysticism. Some people think you're allowed to use a vessel once before you title. It's not true. A vessel that's a throwaway vessel that you only use once, you don't have to title at all because it doesn't take on the chashivas of a vessel. It's not considered chashiv. It's not considered something that you would want to keep. Yeah.
Okay. So there have been many times in Chabad houses where we have used disposable trays, and then the Rabbi is like, "Yeah, rinse it off. We'll use it again." So even though it's a disposable tray, they're going into it with the intent of using it.
Okay, so that's an interesting question. So there are different opinions about it, but the Rav that I consulted is of the opinion that if you intend on reusing a disposable tray, like a disposable pan, you should title it even before using it the first time. Because for you, it's a vessel you want to keep. But most people would use a disposable pan, will throw it away. It doesn't take on the chashivas of the vessel. Now, and that also, Rabbi Moshe has a very interesting tshuva. For example, you take a pickle jar, right? So you're buying the pickles, not buying the jar. After the pickles are finished, now you want to use the jar. Let's say you want to use it for stuffed cabbage, whatever it is. So now you're making the vessel. So theoretically, you have to toivel it. But Moshe says it's a vessel that was already owned by the Jew by the time you made it into a vessel, because you wanted it as a vessel, and therefore you don't have to title it. It's an interesting kind of logic because it became owned by the Jew because it wasn't a vessel, because I bought it as a pickle jar. Once I decided to keep it, it was already mine, and therefore I don't have to title it. That was his approach. So different Rabbanim have different approaches about it.
That's
But
nice, easier.
Rabbi Moshe finds he has a tshuva on that, yeah.
Glass bottle, it's been for drinking, I don't know, you're very likely going to use it again.
A glass what?
Like if you have a glass bottle.
Yeah, the same would be true, like a Snapple bottle, yeah. Same thing. It's certainly better to title such a thing without a bracha, for sure. But there's a datum, based on what he just said. But ordinarily, another kind of vessel you're not allowed to use before titling. If mistakenly it was used without titling, the food is still kosher to eat, but you're not supposed to use it. Also, the